So go ahead, Numan.
Right. Yeah, I'll start off, and then you can, if Gulrez is not here, then I'll have you moderate the session. You take it from there.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Numan.
Okay, well, hello, everyone. I'm Nauman Ashraf. I'm the chair of YPC for this year. This is our first Apna YPC webinar of the year, and we are doing it in collaboration with DOGAANA. We had a very successful year last year under Dr. Sadiq Naveed's guidance. We hope to continue past successes, and we'll try to add more useful guidance material for all of you this year. Some housekeeping rules, which I think Omar was touching upon a little bit earlier. We've decided this year that we will not do any live presentations. We will pre-record them and make them available to you 2 weeks prior on our YouTube channel, Apna YouTube, and also on the Facebook, YPC Facebook. So I will encourage you to please join our Facebook page and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll share the links in the chat in a little bit, so you guys can, the ones who are not part of it, they can join. And the idea behind that is because in the past we have learned that the most important thing for you guys is to ask live questions. So we want to give you as much time as we can. So we're going to pre-record all the presentation. They're going to be available before the session, after the session. So you have time to ask questions from us and have more like an interactive session. Now for questions, there are two ways. One is you can be part of the Zoom webinar. And in that case, you can raise your hand, we'll invite you, you can come on and then ask the question. We just request that when you do that, please keep your camera on and then have a professional attire when you're asking the question. If you cannot ask live question because you're traveling or something is happening, you can't keep your camera on, then we would request you to post your question in the YouTube comment section. Or so if you comment on our YouTube live stream, we'll pick up the question from there and we'll ask our panelists, and then hopefully we'll get back to you on that. I want to congratulate all of you for coming this far in the match season, and I wish you good luck with the match. Our moderator for the session is Gulrez Ahmed. Not sure if he's running a little bit. He's here, yeah. So Gulrez, he's a hematology oncology fellow at the Medical College of Wisconsin, and he's from Dow. So he's going to take the session from here forward. Thank you, Gulrez.
Thank you, Dr. Ashraf. Good morning for the people in US and good evening for the people in Pakistan or any other parts of the world. Myself, Gulrez, I've been part of the YPC for a few years now. So as Dr. Ashraf kind of went over the whole plan, this year we're changing up things. We want you guys to be more interactive with us. So we will be planning to give you more time to ask questions. If you can type those questions, that will be better on YouTube. And if you want to ask questions live, just raise your hands and we'll put you on, and you can turn on your camera and ask those questions. I have a jam-packed panel today. I have Dr. Sadiq Naveed, who is the previous chair. Currently, he is Psychiatry Program Director at ECHN, Connecticut. Very well-known personality in the YPC circle, has helped many candidates in the past. So he's going to join us. Along with that, we have Monis Raza, who is a PGY7 interventional cardiology fellow at University of Louisville. He has also been an integral part of the YPC for the last 2 to 3 years at this point, as far as I remember. And then we have Dr. Shahram Maroof, who is Associate Professor Internal Medicine at Urbana-Champaign, University of Illinois. So he will be joining us as well. Is Sadiq Bhai here?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you want to take the mic and give your few pearls?
Absolutely. And I think I will request all of you to watch Gulrez's video that he already prepared, and it is uploaded on Apna YPC because that's going to cover most of it. I will just highlight a few points and then I will move on and let other people speak about the rank order list too. So for rank order list, think of it as a wish list. Think of if you have 10 programs where you interviewed or that you're going to have a chance to rank. So rank based on how you wish to, how do you wish to rank them. Don't consider how did you perform there, your perceived performance of the interview, or how program's going to rank you. So this is a place, first time in the match, where you guys are in driving seat. So pick the program as you wish. Doesn't matter if program's going to rank you very low. Doesn't matter how you think you perform there. So think as if it is your dream program, if you want to match there, please pick it as number one spot or wherever you want to place that program. And also, and Gulray's video, and I'll let other people speak about that too, the factors that affect the rank order list. So make a list of those factors, and then strategically think about things that will help you rank a program above another program. And each person's reasons are different to rank a program. Some people may rank a program based on the cost of living, other would rate based on family support and those sorts of things. We'll continue to talk about that. And third thing is letter of intent or interest. Everyone sends them. I believe that they don't make a huge change in the rank order list that is developed by the program or program coordinator or directors. Maybe, let's say if someone is being ranked at 6 and someone writes a really great email, they will move it to 5. And that's a maybe. I don't see that happening, but definitely if someone is ranked at 15 and if you send a letter of interest, they're not going to move you to the rank order list, order number 5. So letter of interest, send them, show your interest, tell them that their program is among one of the top choices. It's number 1, and then go from there. So I will stop here. I'll let other panelists also share their view.
Thank you so much, Dr. Naveed. Monis, are you there? Can we see him in participants?
I don't see him.
Is Shahram by there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. One thing is, before we move on to Dr. Maroof's input, there is an app called Prism that is made by NRMP. It's a phone app that you can install on your phone and kind of like uses multiple variables that you can use to kind of like make a rank order list for yourself. It has points like academic environment, work-life balance, geography. It's a little biased because thing is you are ranking it yourself. So of course, if there is a program that you really like, you will give them high scores and they will kind of like be on the top. But then again, it just gives you a little bit more objectivity based on very different variables that you can use. I will move on to Dr. Maroof and I'll see what pearls he has to share.
Hey, greetings everyone. So as we move along this webinar, I think we'll talk about the most important factors that determine the rank order list step by step. For example, your visa status. If you're on green card or you require a visa, J1, H1, H1 is pretty minimal now. So mainly J1 visas is going to be one. The other thing is your academic goals. If you want to pursue fellowships, if you want to do hospice, if you want to be academic hospice and things like that. Number 3 is your financial situation. Like, some programs do reimburse higher. Some programs do have opportunities of moonlighting as a third year. So those factors do come into play, so on and so forth. I think we should, we will, as Gulray's and as we can all answer questions and go over those step by step. But my one pet peeve is like the mistakes that I've seen people make over the years is the one that I want to emphasize as much as possible. The biggest regret people have made, or the mistakes people have made on the rank order list, is based on the interaction of the program. Most of the people that I've met over the years, they have told me, oh man, I like this program so much. When I was interviewing, I thought I had such a good interaction with them, the program director and everyone, I had such a nice feeling of the program. I ranked the program high. This is not how you should rank the program. Not based on the experience you had on the interview day. For example, if you feel the program liked you and this is the reason you're ranking the program, that is not a good enough reason. you should rank the program based on all the factors that we have emphasized before. For example, fellowships, your academic goals, your personal goals, the financial goals, and all those stuff. That particular interview day could go either way. And that particular interview day is basically is the basis for the programs to choose you. It should not be your only tool to choose a program, because you can search the program as much as you want to. You can get input from the residents or the fellows that are working there. You can get in touch with them. You can find out more and more information, and you should base your rank order based on that information, not just your feeling of the program. Because I personally probably have made the same mistake as well. Like, I was interviewing, I was like, oh man, I've loved this program so much. You know, everyone seemed to be so nice. You know, I got along with them so well. I should rank this program higher. You know, this is what we shouldn't be doing. And I guess while we move along, Grace and everyone will talk about all the other stuff that, you know, all the aspects that we should consider. But this is one common mistake that I want to emphasize that you should not be making, just solely based on your feeling of how the interview day went. You should not be ranking the program. That's just one of my pet peeves about this topic. I'll give it back to you, Grace. Oh, I think he's.
So while we are waiting for him, I think we can certainly talk about some of the factors, and I think they vary from specialty to specialty. For internal medicine, fellowships are one of the factors. For psychiatry, you know, most of the fellowships are very in reach, and you know, a lot of those spots go unmasked. So for psychiatry fellowships, if people are looking towards that, it's not whether you're going to match, it's where you're going to match for psychiatry fellowship. So since Gulrez is back, I just wanted to make that point.
And I agree. I was taking a page. So thing is, rank order list is very personal at the end of the day. Don't, as kind of Sharambai kind of pointed out, don't take in any conversation between the programs as a positive signal that you need to rank them high. Some people still ask me a question, Gulrez, do I need to rank a program high just because I feel like I will end up matching over there? No, that's not how match works. Match works in your favor. They see what your preference is, try to put you in that program, and if that program has ranked you high enough, you will end up matching over there. And even if it's like the 12th program on your list, or even 15th or 20th program on your list, you will end up matching over there as long as that program has ranked you high enough. So that being said, I think your goals are very important. What do you want to do? You're really inclined towards immigration process early, then maybe H1 programs is better. If you're inclined towards doing fellowship, maybe J1 programs are better. If you have had troubles with visa in the past, especially with a lot of B1, B2 denials, then I would prefer going for H1, because J1 can still run into troubles in the future. So these are very personalized decisions. Some people prefer geography, they have family somewhere, they really want to be close to them. So these are the variables that you should be considering when making your rank order list. I think we have spoken enough. We already have a video which kind of covers all of these aspects that you should have watched before, but if you haven't, you can always go back. It's available on YouTube. But we can open up the forum to ask questions, and you can raise your hands and we can give you turn on your video and we can turn on your mic to ask questions.
So while I think people are warming up to ask questions, you please go ahead and submit, verify, and certify your rank order list. You can always change it, but just make sure if you change it, go back, resubmit, verify, and certify that. So
yeah, it should say green certified in the right upper corner of your page. So make sure it says green, certified in green. That's what you need to see. And don't change it in the last days, please. Things can be glitchy, system can be very slow, and don't try to make last minute changes. Just submit it a few days prior. Take the leap of faith, you will be okay, don't worry.
And also please make sure that you actually have subscribed to NRMP, because people have made this mistake in the past as well, that they waited too long to subscribe to the NRMP. So make sure you are in the NRMP match system.
So we can see, Omar, are there any questions from YouTube side or anyone here who has raised their hand?
I'm looking at nothing in YouTube. So I'll just some house rules. Please raise your virtual hand or jump in if you have any questions. If we don't have any questions, we were hoping to make this interactive. We might just conclude the session soon, which we don't want to do. So please go ahead, share your questions.
Gulresh, you're muted.
We have someone, yeah.
Okay, passing on the mic to Kantesh. Yep.
Yeah.
Sure. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for arranging this session. I wanted to ask, like, is this question is a valid to ask who is doing residency or program? You are considering that after doing your residency on H1, like this program consider sponsoring green card, or they will file green card for you. So on that basis, you can rank the program.
So I will let Shahram Bhai answer this question.
Yeah, definitely that's a valid question, but in all honesty, there are very few programs who are doing this or are able to do this. So just to put things back into perspective, there was 7-8 years ago, there were a lot of programs that were offering H1. There was like a field of H1 programs that were there. In the recent past, since the COVID and everything and the visa situation, there are very few programs who are actually offering H1 now, because the processing is different. They have to go through a lot of hoops, the lawyer fees and things like that. So programs are not, welcoming in H1 aspect. So if you're considering some program based on the H1, if they're offering you, that's great. I don't think you should make a jump towards green card, because this is going to put programs in a really bad situation. Like, okay, so we're offering H1 for you. You really want us to, put green card application for you? I personally don't think you should be asking this question. If they're offering J1 for you, that's good enough. After the H1 for you, that's good enough. After the H1 is done, it's only take like a year and a half to get the green card done. So that's not a problem. If they're giving you H1B, take it and go home. It's a rare commodity in these times, to be honest.
So actually, Dr. Maruf, the scene is I have, like, let's suppose 4 to 5 H1. So can I consider this point and asking residents about this thing, not the program directly?
Yes, definitely. Ask the residents. That's the best way to move forward. Ask the residents, like, if you have tried to file the green card process, and is the program welcome in that respect or not. But don't ask the program, because that might be a sore find for the program. Just think about it. There are some programs who have, like, let's say 8-9 green H1B applicants, and maybe they were asking those programs to offer the green card anyways, and the program was having difficulty filing the green card or things like that. And if a new candidate comes ahead and asks them before joining, can you apply for my green card in the future, they might not take it very nicely.
Yeah, right. Got it. Thank you.
I totally agree. And this doesn't happen anymore, Kantesh. It used to happen before, but it doesn't happen anymore. So,
other factors to keep.
Yeah, and rank the program to their merits. If you have 4 or 5 programs that have H1 sponsoring, rank them to their merits and see which program is better.
If they have fellowship, in-house fellowships, ask them about, like, if you have connection with the candidates, ask them, where are the places they usually go up for the fellowship. For example, some programs do have places that most of their residents end up in cardiology or hematology or pulmonary critical care, things like that. So ask them those valid questions, and based on that, make your rank on a list, rather than based on the fact that you can get green card.
All right.
All right, guys. Quick. Thank you, Kantesh. Guys, we have 4 questions, 2 in the chat and 2 in YouTube comments. So I'll go ahead, start with the YouTube comments. There's a question from Mustafa Shah. He's saying, hello, thank you for the session. If a program has been on ACGME probation for a brief time, should that be a red flag?
So I can probably answer that.
I think somebody in the leadership position can take it.
So, and Dr. Ashraf is here too, and he can also take a jibe on this. So I think it really depends on the kind of probation that program would have. You can actually go into acgme.org and under the institute and program finders. You can see under the programs whether they have received any citations, have been put on probation. If because the program director has mentioned that to you, that program has been on probation, you can certainly ask, what was the reason for probation and what are the, steps that are being taken towards to address that probation. Community programs, not, mid-tier programs, even low-tier programs quite often would receive a citation. It can be as simple as not having enough scholarly activities. So it can be as simple as it is. So I think it really depends on the kind of probation that program received or kind of citation that program received. So if it was mentioned in the interview or in any post-interview communication, you can ask them, reason and what is being done to address that. But, usually it can be very small and minuscule thing too.
Yeah, so I'll echo what Dr. Naveed said. So initially, if there's a minor issue, ACGME will give a warning. Then they go on to the citation, and then they give you time to resolve the citation. If you cannot resolve the citation, then your program gets on probation, unless there was something really severe that happened in the program, and they may directly take you on the probationary status. So if a program is on probation, there's something significant going on. So I would echo, just ask the program, find out about the details. If you have other choices, probably you want to keep that program lower on your rank order list, because if they don't resolve the probation, then there are chances that the program may be shut down, which doesn't happen that commonly. People are able to resolve it, but that's a potential danger. So that's why you will just keep it at the bottom of your list. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Naveed. And it looks like questions are piling up. Dr. Maruf, did you have any input? That's okay. Must be somebody else's voice then. There is another question that is asking how to rank prelim and for neurology or radiology or any other field. I think we are lucky to have Dr. Umar Tariq here with us. Do you want to take that question while you're also managing our social media services?
Sure, Gulrez, happy to answer. So in general, what I say is it really depends what you're doing and what kind of application you have. If you're a star applicant with great scores, it's better that you can always match into prelim internal medicine. Just remember, prelim internal medicine is actually more competitive than categorical internal medicine. So just keep that in mind. Prelim surgery is a safer backup if you're looking to get into, let's say, radiology or surgery. So just be aware. I would, if I'm guiding a radiology applicant, I'll say apply to 50 to 100 prelim surgery program, 50 to 60 prelim medicine, and 10 or 20 transitional year, which like almost never come to IMGs. In general, prelim surgery is the easiest to get into, then prelim medicine, then transitional year. Thank you, Gulrez.
If you could just clarify that there are two lists, right? There is a prelim list and then there is an advanced program list that you have to submit.
Yeah, so basically what happens is you actually first rank your advanced programs, and then for each advanced program, you make a corresponding prelim list. And then at the end of all your advanced programs, you rank your prelim. So just in case, if you go unmatched in an advanced spot, you at least had a prelim. But the prelim list is separate for each advanced program that you do. And the most important thing is to certify your list at least a couple of days before the deadline.
So much. Let's ask the question from Gulfam Ahmed. Gulfam, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask question. Dr. Gurez, I am not done with step 3 right now, and I have opportunity to rank program which is sponsor H1, and I have scheduled my exam step 3 in March and hopefully get result in April. So should I rank those programs in my rank order list on top, or still there is no hope to get H1 at now? And by considering the point that I have refusal of my visa early on B1, B2 from Karachi Embassy. So what are your response for that?
So I was in a very similar boat like you. What happens is as soon as January starts, each step 3 results are being held. And they release them together randomly in either March, April, May. So I took my step 3 in February. I got my results late April, early May. And what happens is most of the time H1 programs do premium processing for your application. They might ask you to pay the fee for the premium processing, which is a lot. It's almost $2,500. So it's like turns out to be almost at this point 6 lakh rupees in Pakistan. But there is an option that you might still be eligible. And if you have had troubles in the past for your B1, B2, I would be more inclined towards H1 because that's a little bit, though it's not 100% certain, but USCIS does give you an approval prior. So there is an approval from USCIS before going to the embassy. So I would recommend that you can still rank them high and try to see if you can get your exam done sooner. Don't flunk it. It's not going to help you to flunk it in the future, especially if you have plans for fellowship, you do need a good score on your step 3. But it's possible because the paperwork, a lot of programs, the paperwork is not going to start till like mid-April-ish when they start. Like some programs will reach out to you in a week, some programs will reach out to you in 2 weeks, some programs will reach out to you in 2 to 3 weeks. Like they might not even bother you for a long time. And then they give you some time to gather paperwork. And interviews are ample. Dr. Fateh Shahzad will be working on to open up spots for us at any point. So I think it's workable, but see if you can do the exam maybe early March so that you get the result by end of March or like start of April, and you will not run into any troubles. But some programs are picky. They go like, oh, you don't have a step score, now you'll have to take J1. But it's a risk that you'll have to take at this point. I don't think you can run away from it.
Gulrez, can I add something?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I echo with what Gulrez said, but just remember that don't compromise on your step 3, because that, regardless of what happened, I hope you match. Is the score's gonna or exams results gonna stick with you. So just trust your assessment scores and then go from there.
Yeah, so thank you.
Can I take another question from YouTube?
Looks like there are a couple raised hands here. But
oh, sure, go ahead, take them.
But they vanished. I don't know where they went.
Let me do a quick.
Okay,
there's a question
you
from
can take them from the
Javed.
YouTube and then you can join the
sure.
Zoom chat.
Sure. Hafsa Javed is asking, should a new program sponsoring H1B, should that be ranked higher than a university program sponsoring J1? Go ahead, Gulrez.
So I will let Dr. Maroof talk about this because he has some pearls on this.
So honestly, this is a very tricky question. It has to be a personal decision. Getting a H1B is a big deal in a sense that it does soften your pathway towards green card and immigration and all those problems. J1B continues to be a problem. Like J1 visa continues to be a problem in a sense that you have to do waiver and things like that. So it is a problem. But you have to think about your career goals. Are your career goals oriented towards fellowship, or your career goals oriented towards getting a green card B as soon as possible? Because if your career goals are directed towards fellowship, then a new program sponsoring H1B visa might not be a very suitable choice for you, because it's a new program. Good. They, first of all, regarding visa processes, do keep this in mind that the programs who do good in the visa processing department, either H1 or J1 or whatever, are the ones who have done it years in and years out. New programs do struggle sometimes in offering visa, especially H1B, because they don't have that much experience with it. Sometimes it gets delays and things like that. But hopefully that doesn't happen. But that new program will not have connections towards fellowship, right? You might have a difficulty getting to fellowship, because if you're an H1B program, for you to get a new fellowship is a little harder than if you're on J1, because there are two options for you. Either you get a green card application submitted while you're in the program. For example, that program is so good that it's willing to, file a green card for you, so that you only have 1 year and then you get a green card and you can apply for a fellowship right away. But most programs don't do that. So in all honesty, you have to spend 2.5 years or 2 years doing a hospitalist. So what happens is, if you are from a new program that's not well known, and you are doing a 2-year hospitalist job, then your chances of getting into a comparative fellowship is very low compared to a fresh graduate who was done from who was graduated from a university program. So if your career goals are towards fellowship, then I would suggest going towards a big university program with the J1.
Looks like Sadiq Bhai has raised his hand as well.
Yeah, so I think like, Shriram was also mentioning that it is a personal decision, but, for me, I will put more weight on the rigor of the training that you're going to get.
Yep.
And because that's going to help you in many ways. But if you just want to work as a hospitalist afterwards, that's a straight path for you. But if, you may go into fellowships, then focus more on the rigor of the training. And also, I think in the new program versus established programs, that's another whole different topic, because then you also need to think about where this new program is being developed, whether this site already has, or university already has a lot of residency programs, program director has established, previous residency programs. So I will just give an example. So Donna Sudik, she's a program director for Drexel University Tower Health Residency Program. She has been president of ADPERT, which is Association of Psychiatry Program Directors, and she has served as PDs in the past too. So tons of experience while she was developing the program. So also look at that aspect too. And if you are in a place like with working with Dr. Sudik, you are sort of, starting the class, you may get a lot more attention and support than an established program. On the other hand, established programs have, processes in place. They have dealt with it in the past. They have experience from it. But, having said all of this, you see where you're going to get the best training.
I hope, Hafsa, that answers your question. Umar bhai, anything else on YouTube, or should we just move towards our chat over here?
Umar, you're muted.
Sorry, guys. There is a YouTube question that if one has a B1, B2 rejection, is J1 visa a problem? I will simply say no. It's extremely variable. Unless somebody wants to add in, I will go into the next question. No?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah,
just based on data, 95% of J1, Gulrez was in that group too, went fine. We're going to have issues, but Apna is always there to support you guys.
Perfect. And then the next question is, should we send a letter of intent to programs that we want to rank from 2 to 5? I've heard that programs may not interpret that, not being told that they're being ranked as first as a negative. My personal answer is just say, I'll rank them high, I'll rank you highly, or I'll rank you high, rather than tell you I'll rank you at 1, 2, or whatever. I'll let others answer. Go ahead.
I agree. I would do the same thing. I send an email to everybody. I had like 9 programs on the list. So highly versus top. Those are the two ways.
And I would just put, like, personally, I would be lucky to match into your program. Is that a bad answer? Are you being dishonest? No. You would be lucky to match into any US residency program. So my pet peeve is, I was just saying to most programs, I would be lucky to be a part of this program. And I was doing this with Phil. I would be really lucky, and all that. That's true. Yeah, and your top programs, you can say, yeah, I'm ranking you number 1. Or never say I'm ranking you number 1 to any program, to be honest, in my opinion. That doesn't give you any benefit of saying I'm ranking you number 1. You can say I'm ranking you highly, or you are my top most program if it's really a top most program. But to rest of the programs, you can say I would be lucky to match in your program. That's what I used to do.
Looks like Dr. Ashraf has also a comment on this.
Yes, so yeah, I will agree with what's been said. Do not put a number to it, and you can, as Gulrez and Umar suggested, pick highly or top. But the letter of intent, the reason is you are going to make it personalized, and you need to talk about the reasons why you want to be in that program. So that's going to make the difference. Somebody interviewed with me, and they remember something we talked about, and then they reference that I spoke to you on this say addiction research that you are doing, and I'm really interested. And I think that's been my passion, and that has to relate to what you have in your personal statement and CV. It has to be your goal that matches. So I'm already interested in you. Now you send the letter of intent, you talk about it, and you say, because of these reasons, you will be my top choice, and I would be lucky to be trained in this program. So I think then that makes sense, and people will pay more attention to it. So make it personalized note. Thank you.
I 100% agree. I think you need to put in at least 1 to 2 sentences from the interview day, so that you can make it look personalized, and more so that you remember that day for a very specific reason. All right, next question. I see that the chat is busy.
It's Sundus Naseem question. Do you want me to take it?
Sundus.
If my plan is to do, let me take this really quick. If my plan is to do a fellowship in the future and I rank a program that does not have an in-house fellowship, is that a huge disadvantage? My reason for ranking this program is that it is in my geographical preference area. Go ahead, Gulreis.
So yes, it is not easy for somebody who's coming from a program who doesn't have in-house fellowship to match into programs who have fellowships. But then again, do people not match from a community program? A lot of them match as well. It will totally depend upon what you do in the 3 years of time that you'll be spending during your residency, or 4 years, depending upon what residency you're doing. So I would say, if geography is important to you, I would probably stay close to home. I would have preferred that if I had home in US, but I didn't. But you will have to really work on these 3 years of yours, publish, network, focus on specific goals, do rotations, and build your CV in these 3 years to kind of like make sure that you're ready to go into the match. I think Dr. Naveed also has a comment on this.
So just remember, having in-house fellowship or being in part of a bigger program just give you a jumping pad, but it is you who are going to build your CV. It's you who are going to, be able to share a story. So you can be in a program which has in-house fellowship, but still you got to do the work. You need to do, let's say if you want to apply for GI match, you have to do GI related work to show your interest. So you can come from a program that does not have in-house fellowship, but if you do the work, you can still pretty much match. So it's all about building CV. That the last point what Gulreis said.
Gulreis, are you able to see the chat? Otherwise, I can take the next question. We can't hear you. Okay, I'll just go ahead. Mohammed Saad Ali Malik is asking, hi everyone, I wanted to ask if one should rank a primary care program considering one wants to pursue fellowship in interventional cardiology. I think you should rank every program, but the question is, should you rank it high or not? Go ahead, Gulreis.
Dr. Maruf, do you want to put your pearls on this one?
Yeah, I think it's a straightforward answer, to be honest. Like, you should rank every program, but that should not be your top ranked program, because going into a cardiology fellowship from a primary care program is really hard. It's really hard. So I would say no. Rank
Perfect.
any program who has in-house fellowships or who has good history of matching their residency into other cardiology programs. You should rank that program higher than the primary care program.
Okay, next question we have from Daniel Shafiq Bhatt. What are the views on ranking a new program higher than an old established program? Go ahead, guys.
Gulreis, you're muted.
Dr. Naveed, do you want to take this one?
Yeah. So, and Dr. Ashraf can also chime in. I think like I previously said, it really depends on the rigor of the training that you're gonna get in each programs. New programs has their own pros and cons, and established programs may have their own cons. So with the new programs, so let's say if you're a second class, we are starting a residency program from July 2024. So we're gonna get first batch of residents, and they're gonna get most of our attention and support, and there's gonna be a lot of focus on them. Just remember of that being your first child, right? So they're gonna get a lot of attention from the program. And again, if that program has existing residencies, that will help. They know the processes, things have been in place. The experience of the faculty would also matter in all of this. So there can be pros too, but with the cons, it's you have to learn that process. PDs have to learn that process. They have to develop some and put some processes in place. So it's a learning curve for the new programs too. So it's all about you, whether you want to be part of the program who's growing and taking shape, and you want to be part of the journey, and you may be able to find leadership spots like chief resident, being associate PD, or chief of anything. if you're at that program. So I'm selling my program to over in the Manbai's program.
Which also brings me to one more point. If you end up doing a community hospital residency without fellowship, you can actually do a chief year, and that also really helps with your chances of fellowship. So it might be an extra year, but definitely helps to match into better fellowship programs. Looks like there is a question that directly was sent to me. Usman is asking, I wanted to ask that there is a very long wait times for B1, B2 appointments. Does that happen with J1 and H1? No, J1, H1 times are like 1 to 2 weeks at this point. And Apna advocacy kind of like works with the embassy and brings it down to 3 to 4 days during the busy season, which is like end of May, start of June. And regarding the current visa situation, is there anything we need to do right now? You cannot do anything right now. You will have to wait to match first before you can do anything. Statement of need is a straightforward process. You put in that application online now. Nobody has to go personally, but make sure that your documents are ready, your PMDC and other things. PMDC also doesn't need to be valid. It can be an expired one. So, but make sure that your documents are in order, and at least you know what documents are needed.
So Gulrez, just to sort of, highlight, please reach out to Apna if you're a Pakistani descent physician. Last year, I think our wait time for J1 or H1 appointment was within a week, while it was, about 6 weeks for some of the other embassies. So reach out to Apna if you get matched. And I also want to highlight another point. So also at the same time, start preparing for SOAP if you feel like there's a chance you will go in SOAP.
Gulrez, quick question. Are you logged in from your cell phone?
Yes.
Okay, so you might have challenges looking at the chat. So how about I just take the questions?
I can do that now. It's just that I need to refresh it and drag all the questions. So the next question we have is from Rafia Alam. She's asking, what kind of factors should I keep in mind while ranking a program if I want my spouse to also match in the same program the following year? That's a very good question. I think I would look at the history of the program and see if they have taken spouses before. I would also look into big city programs so that you have more options close by. My wife matched this year, and we were in Milwaukee, so it's a relatively bigger city with a lot more programs within the city. So I will look into those very important factors. If they have a history of taking spouse, which I know a couple of programs in Ohio who do it, and then a big city so that you can have ample programs to apply to and use them for your rank order list. Anybody else has any other thoughts on this? Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I went through the same process, Gulrez, and I'll say, you just need to talk to the PD during interview, and you can be honest about it. It's easy if your spouse is going into the same specialty. But having a frank discussion with the PD that, okay, my spouse will be applying next year or in a couple of years and is interested in your specialty or another specialty, they themselves will become your biggest advocate and they will guide you if they really like you. So just be open about it and have a discussion with your PD during interview. Thank you.
All right, the next question is from iPhone. See, maybe Siri is typing. Will you advise to rank new IM programs low despite being in person in the hospital, which was fantastic, and will run 6 programs and they promised home fellowship after first PGY 1 began?
So, this was what I was talking about. So it seems like it's a program which has very rigorous training. So you can certainly rank that program high, but just remember, program usually don't promise. You have to do the work to get there. So, they would say that it is possible, if you put the work in, but it's the, let's say if you're going to GI fellowship, it's the GI fellowship PD who's going to decide whether that person's going to come in or not.
I agree. Fellowship is not a piece of cake. You will have to work for the fellowship position. So I will move on to next question. I don't want to break your first name, Ms. Ehsan. So I'm just going to read the question. It is an unrelated question, but I would like you all to answer this query, please. So I have applied for a green card, and on the USCIS website, the processing time is showing me it would be until July for me to get my work permit. Would the programs consider me then, or they will think it is risky? I have interviewed at old programs.
Gulrez, I can take that unless you know what I went through this.
Sure,
okay. So yeah, I went through this situation. My spouse went through this situation, and my brothers did as well. So the issue is programs like you to have a green card in your hand by the time they make their rank order list. So Feb, if you don't have it by Feb, the program is going to ask you if you have your green card in hand, your EAD in hand, and 90% of the programs are going to remove your name from, they will rank you lower because you don't have your EAD. And what they don't want is they give you a spot in for residency in June and you're not able to start it. So yeah, that unfortunately that goes against you. Very, very few programs will still rank you. And it is always better to be honest, to tell the program. Some programs will match you next year, because they liked you, but just be very open about it. That can happen, unfortunately.
One other thing, I don't know the situation which you order the green card with. Like, if you have applied EAD before, or like, I don't know how you applied your application.
This
For example,
this is for work authorization.
Yeah, work. Okay. Then of course you have to wait for the work authorization.
Yeah, no, this will be a very tricky situation. You might have to go on a visa if you end up matching.
You can't. Gulrez, you cannot. That's the problem. If you have a green card processing, then that's an immigration intent, right? So then you can't go and apply for a J1 unless you withdraw your application.
I know a candidate who matched at right for H1 and at J1 as well.
So H1, if you have to be really, academic about it, yes, H1B you can apply while you have an immigration intent, but J1 technically you're not. He was very lucky to get J1, to be honest, because J1 is not an immigration intent.
Yeah.
So H1 you can get, but J1 you cannot. But my point was, while you have applied the green card, if you have applied for EAD with the application of green card, sometimes EAD comes earlier. Most of the time EAD comes earlier. So if your processing time is like July for the green card, but you might be able to get an EAD earlier. You might even be able to get EAD next month. So don't lose hope. I think you might get your EAD early if you have already applied for it. So, but if you're applying for EAD now, it's going to take like 9-10 months. So that is not going to work out. If you have already applied for EAD while you're applying for a green card, then yes, most definitely you'll be able to get an EAD before the start time of your residency and you'll be good to go.
Perfect. And just one thing to add really quick. J1 is non-immigration intent.
Yeah.
Green card is immigration intent and H1 is dual intent. So H1 can swing both ways, but you can't go from green card to J1. Go ahead, Sadiq.
Yeah. And I don't.
Excuse me. I have like a quick question regarding to this question that I asked. So like, can I tell the hospital to like just give me an H1 just in case I do not get my EAD or my green card in time, like simultaneously when I have my green card processing going on, or is that something they can do for me?
Yes, that's just again, if they're willing to apply for H1B, that's the best thing. You can get applied. So while your green card application is in process, you can get a H1B visa. So yes, go ahead.
Okay. And I will also talk with, if you have an attorney, I will also talk with attorney to see if there is any way to expedite that EAD. Any hardship stuff or things like that. So I will also pursue that option.
But it will be very important to see if the program is sponsoring visas or not. So you'll have to see. And how do you pronounce your first name? I'm intrigued.
It's Barunda, by the way. That's my wife.
Oh, no, what?
Yeah.
I was embarrassed because you sounded like a male and I introduced you in Miss Hassan. So.
Yeah, I'm just speaking on behalf of my wife. So
got it.
Yeah.
All right. Next up is, so there is a question.
Thank you, by the way.
Yeah, you're welcome. Mariam Tariq is asking, 2 interviews from one institute and you rank both 1 and 2. Would that make any difference? As your prime goal is to stay in the institute. Mariam, I would like a little bit of elaboration. Is it from different specialities from the same program, or how do you have to, is it primary care or categorical?
Well, Assalamu alaikum everyone. They're both different specialities, but they're like interlinked. One is medicine and pediatrics combined. The other one is medicine.
So I think so she goes by Mariam. She corrected it on Twitter. So Mariam, it's the program ID that matters when you're ranking. So it really doesn't matter, whether you are going for programs at two programs at the same institute. So it's the program ID code that matters. So medicine program will have its own ID number, and MedPeds program will have its own ID.
But would that make any difference? Like everybody was like, you have 2 interviews from one institute. It's not good. Like, why did you apply multiply? Yeah, because I wanted to stay here. So I applied in multiple specialty at the same institute. And I was like, it was kind of a luck, I would say, that I got it 2 interviews. They don't give it. So would that make any difference? Like if they would rank me low or no? I don't know how the PDs are going to are thinking right now, because but I hope that I stay here. That's what I have told everyone.
Yeah, so Mariam, you worry about things that are under your control. So if they have talked among each other, and that may affect it, but since you don't have any control over it, I will not worry about it, and just go into match, praying that you stay in the institute that you want to be. And frankly speaking, you can talk to PDs if you join one of their programs and explain them, I wanted geographically, it was better for me. I was invested in medicine training, and I was getting it at both programs in some ways.
Yeah, I don't see a downside in it either. There is no reason to be worried about anything. There are a few programs in IM who have like both categorical and primary care pathways, and you do end up ranking both of those programs. So same goes for peds and med peds. It's not that you're applying to psych and medicine. It's not, I would not be that worried about it. Looks like there is one last question. I saw Farhan Ahmed joined up the meeting. Is it Farhan Ahmed from the famous YouTuber? Oh, sorry, Twitter space guy? Because it is a very relevant question for him.
So Farhan is here.
Because Farhan Bhai is of the thought process.
I'm just a silent listener here today. I just joined.
Farhan Bhai, but this is a very relevant question to you, because I know you are of a proponent for H1. How heavily should one weigh a program offering H1 compared to the one which is offering J1?
I'll just bring some context to this question, try to answer. I just got a list of one of the applicants who shared one of his, actually he shared his whole rank order list with me, and his preference was that he wanted to stay in New York City, and he wanted to get H1. Now, when I look at his list, there were like many good university programs, but he ranked them around like number 6, number 7. And I was like, what are you thinking? He's like, H1 is my preference. But as I said again, when I ranked my list of programs, regardless, H1s were on the top of it, just because I was not focused on just getting into fellowship. I was just thinking beyond it. The way the immigration policies are changing, the way the J1 people are trying all across. I know there's a whole support of J1, and there's no bad word about that. But at the end of the day, it's all your own preference. I always preferred H1 on the top, and I knew a couple of things. Number one, immigration at the end of the day is important. The sooner you get your permanent resident status, that will be so good for your family and your personal life. Number two, the fellowship. There comes a bigger question. I heard that many people are interested in getting into fellowship, and that's why they are okay with J1, and that is a reasonable argument. But at the same time, it all depends how well you have groomed your CV during first 2 years of residency. I have seen people who really worked hard, who knew they want to do that. They did a lot of work like first year, second year. And then even if they end up being a hospitalist, they kept on working in a way that so that once they are done with their permanent resident status, immediately apply for the fellowship. So I don't think the applicants should be really worried about fellowship right up front. The goal should be where they want to live and what are their personal preference. That is my own very biased opinion about H1. And I know me and Gulrez have a bit of a difference between H1 and J1, and we agree to have a bit of a disagreement there, and that's okay.
That's why I wanted your input. I got excited.
Gulrez, wait a second. I'm curious. You're a J1 proponent?
I'm not a J1 proponent. I'm more of a proponent of what your goals are.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
because your goals are more important. Sharam, one thought.
Sorry,
because the thing is, I want to be part of a program where I will be happy and who will be nurturing my goals. I came to US to train. Immigration is secondary for me. But there are some people, for them, immigration is primary and training is secondary. So it's just a thought process difference. But at the end of the day, I also ended up on H1, had to do hospitalist for a few years, and then I'm a fellow now.
So that's why you should do psychiatry, so you don't have to worry about these things.
So what I would say is like, whatever recommendations we are giving, it's not all or none phenomena. It's not that even if you go to a primary care track, you cannot be a fellow. What we are basically saying is, what is the easier pathway? No one can say that if you're on an H-1B visa, you can't get into fellowship. No, there's so many people who, if they're hardworking, if they're dedicated, they end up in fellowships. What we are saying is, what is easier? So if you are on a J1 visa, it is easier to get into fellowship. There's no doubt about that. If you are on an H-1B visa, it is a little harder to get into fellowship. Of course, you have to work hard and you can overcome that hardship. So the only thing is, what are your goals? Are your goals more inclined towards, I want to be settled out first, and then of course I'll work hard and get into fellowships? Fine, go ahead with H-1B visa. But if your goals are, no man, I cannot bear to be, for example, delayed in my career goals, like I can't be delayed 2-3 years being a hospitalist and then apply for fellowship, things like that. I do want to go directly into fellowship. Definitely go for H-1B visa first, because again, the immigration is important, but even the H-1B visa, if you're, for example, I am on a waiver right now. So I did my residency training first on a H-1B visa. It was very easy for me to get a fellowship. I got a fellowship in the program that I love, the Cook County program for pulmonary critical care. And now it's 3 years. I'm working in a program, in an academic setup as a waiver. Like I'm on my H-1B visa, but I'm in an academic program. I have academic faculty. I teach the residents and all that. I don't think my life is affected one little bit based just because of H-1B visa, J-1B, things like that. But yeah, definitely the problem is going back and forth the country. But again, that's your preference.
One thing I would say is, like, if you have all community programs which have no fellowship to offer, I would prefer H1 over J1, because if they're all similar programs. But if you have a university program that is sponsoring J1, and if your goals are to do fellowship, I would prefer to keep that program on the top.
So if you are academically oriented, like it depends on what your orientation are. If you're really academically oriented, yes, you might suffer for the visa situation. Of course, I did, because there was issues. If I go back home, I have to wait for the visa and all that. It is problematic, but I didn't want to compromise on my academic side. So that's just personal preference.
And that's why I loved Farhan Bhai when he showed up, because it just gives you a different perspective on the thought process. Like, what do people think when they are approaching the rank order list for their goals? Unfortunately, we are almost at the brink of the hour. There are a couple more questions, but I will have to take a leave. Umar Bhai, can you just take over? And,
absolutely, sure, no worries.
And I will say goodbye to everybody. It was a pleasure talking to you all.
Thanks for being here, Gulreis. We'll miss your presence. So yeah, I am actually very surprised that there are people who support J1. But at the end of the day, it's a matter of priorities. If ranking at a better place is a higher priority for you than long-term status in US, then of course J1 makes more sense. But for the most of the people, and I think the problem is, me and Farhan, we are descendant of King Edward USMLE Forum, and over long term, over the decade, we have reached a conclusion of that H1 in general is better, just because we have all now like 10 to 12, 11 years past graduation, and we have seen those of us who had J1 how miserable they were, specifically a few of them during their waiver, and then they come back to us and they share with us, right, Farhan? I think that's the biggest reason. Anyhow, there are a couple of questions.
It is.
Right.
I think so I wanted to just sort of like experience this whole thing, that why people say that you can't go into your fellowship if you do the H1. And I sort of put that as a challenge for myself. Okay, I said, okay, I'm going to get the H1. I'm going to go for the permanent resident status. The 2 years that I will work for the hospitalist, I never ever looked at my paycheck frequently. I knew that I'm not gonna buy a house. I was so focused on getting into fellowship. I kept on working with the residents. We sort of published case reports every other month. Not for a single moment, I even thought that I will just stay as a hospital medicine, and then applied for the fellowship. And during the interviews, that just so much boosted my confidence that they were like, well, you did your hospital medicine. Will you be a best fit for us as a trainee? And I was like, you look at my CV here. I'm publishing every second month. That doesn't mean that I want to be a hospitalist. I wanted to be fellow, being a trainee, and I'm okay with it. And that's what my career goal is. I just want to sort out this IMD. The reason is, and a very, very good point here. So we as an international medical graduate experience this whole big challenge of immigration that other US graduates don't even have a bit of single idea what we are going through. And then same thing with our interviewers. Even if my interviewer is not an international graduate, she will not have a single point idea that what I went through when I showed up in front of the immigration counter 3 times, just begging that please let me come to US. So that's where I am. I'm very biased on it. So if you have an H1 and you want to prefer that you can do. Again, it's pretty flexible. It's personal based. Don't take my opinion as a final verdict.
There are, a few questions that I think we can take on, but there was a
Sure.
YouTube question.
Yeah, I saw you copy paste.
If your PMC is expired, then will it be all right? I think Gulrez mentioned that it would be all right if it is expired. It doesn't have to be a valid PMC.
There's another question, says from iPhone, what if program A has 20 positions and I'm ranked on 20th number in that program in my rank order? This program is on the last, suppose on the 10th number, but one of the other applicants has ranked program higher than me, and that applicant is on 22nd number. Where will the NRMP algorithm match me? NRMP algorithm works in support of the applicant, right, Sadiq?
Yes, so you will take that spot because you are at higher rank than the other applicant.
Okay, good. Next question is from Daniel Shafiq, but in the interest of time, we'll go a little fast. Should we rank programs with 24-hour calls lower than programs with no 24-hour calls and XY model for IM categorical?
So I think when you are doing 24-hour calls or when you are doing emergency call, they have their value, and I think you get to work under stress, sometimes a little bit sleep deprived too. So you learn a lot. In my opinion, it's a valuable experience to have. I would not shy away from going to a program which has calls. I did a lot of moonlighting in my residency because I gained that confidence and autonomy by doing all those things. So,
Noman bhai, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one. As program directors, we always talk about it, and there's a split among program directors whether we should have night float for residents, or we should have 24-hour calls. And some believe it's really good experience. Some believe no, it just adds to the stress. I think what you need to look at is the overall program and talk to the residents and find out if they're happier and what is the product of the program. Where are their graduates going? Are they successful after graduation, fellowship in their other lives? Where do they end up? And if it's a good quality program and you have good feedback, then it doesn't matter whether you have calls or night float, because there may be a program that doesn't have any call night flow, but they'll make your life hell because they'll have you see 12 patients in a day and they'll put you in like really miserable positions. So I don't think so that you can really look at that and figure it out, or take an overall perspective of the program, talk to the graduates, see where they're going. If the people are overall happier, it's a good program, good quality, go for that. And being a doctor, it's a good, if it's managed appropriately, it's a great opportunity for you to learn. When you're on a night float and you are on calls, that's when you learn the most, because then it's you and your attending is available if you call them. But most of the time you are going through up to date, you're going through your handbooks and you're trying to figure out what to do. That's when most of the learning happens. So I think, but there's a split. And just wanted to share that among all the program directors, half believe it should not be there, half believe it should be there. I think just overall try to speak to other graduates, see how the program is. The program overall is good, you go for that.
Thank you, Numan bhai. As an interventional radiologist, as a person who has done surgery for a year as well, I'll share that you grow in life only after you get pushed beyond your limits, and it's up to you. Do you want a more miserable training for a few years, or you want a more miserable job because you never learned how to work independently, you never learned how to grow, be fast, because you were always sheltered and protected? If anything, I will take a busier program with more 24-hour calls more favorably, because I know once I'll come out from that program after 3-4 years of training, I'll be super fast, I'll be efficient, and I'll be good. As an attending, I would always go to a place. As an attending, you learn the most when you're working independently without having a senior attending around. So same thing happens when you're a trainee on your night calls, 24-hour calls. You learn the most. All right. Next is from Mohammed Saad Ali Malik. I also wanted to ask which visa, J1 or H1, would be better for your spouse versus J2 or H4 if you have work authorization in US. Short answer, this is one of the biggest reason people advocate for J1. It's easier to get an EAD and get a job on J2. I'll let Sharam or Ruth answer that. Go ahead, brother.
Yes, exactly. So if that's one of the other problems for the H-1B visa is that once you're on H-1B, your spouse can't work. While for H1, for J1, you can get a J4 and EAD within a few months, and your spouse can work. So that's again one of the other benefits. Again, no one is saying that one visa is better than other visa. As far as the immigration is concerned, definitely H1B is better, but we're just talking about pros and cons of the H1 and J1 visa. Please don't take our recommendations as the final recommendations. These are our opinions, and we do tend to have our own experiences. Take the shape of our opinion. So basically, spouse-wise, definitely H1B is better.
All right, next question we have from Fatima Mohsin. Hi, I need some advice. My parents applied for immigration through my uncle 8 years ago. At that time, I was a minor. How should I answer the question in DS-160? Have you applied for immigration? And is it better that in the name of sponsor, I write relative and ask my uncle to fill the form 134? Or should I say that my father is sponsoring me and skip the form 134 route? Please guide me. Does anybody want to take this? Unless I went through a similar. Go ahead.
I can try to address this tricky question. So I think you should talk to an attorney. So I have applied immigration for my sister and my brother. So when you apply for that's called I-130. So when you apply for I-130, you apply for your immediate relative. So I applied for my sister and my brother. You mentioned their names, their kids' name on the list, but if they at that age when they are in the adjustment of status process, if their kids are with them, then they get immigrations because their parents are being immigrated. I think it's better to get an attorney's opinion on this, because if you mention it in either way, I don't want it to affect your J1 and H1 interview process and going it for screening. So I will frankly reach out to an attorney and ask them what to do. If my opinion would be that it's not your uncle is not sponsoring you, your uncle is sponsoring your mom or dad. But reach out to an attorney and then answer that question.
So Sadiq, I went through this process. That's how I got my green card, like way back, 20 years ago. So short answer for me and my cousins and all of us who went through this process is 8 years ago when it was filed, if you were below 21, you're automatically added. So they filed for you. If you were like 22, 21 and a half, then you're not a part of it. Then you need to be filed separately. Rather than that I think it's F41 is your immediate relative, like brother, sister. F42 is the spouse, and the siblings are F43 or F43. So you will be automatically eligible for F43 if 8 years ago you were below.
Umar, that there has been some change in that immigration law. I think 2014 or 2016. So the new according to new changes, let's say. My sister's son is probably going to go to 21 before her turn will come. So according to new change, they freezes the age of the child. For the length of the time I-130 is going to be in the process. So when we applied, I think he was 14 or 15 years old. So until it goes to adjustment of status, his age is going to be considered on that age, 14 or 15.
Yes.
So it's a rather complicated,
Absolutely.
I will reach out to an attorney before you answer this question, because I'm just afraid that when you will go for J1 or H1, if you give an answer that is not valid answer in their opinion, they're going to send it for admin screening.
And when we say attorney, we mean a U.S. attorney, not a Pakistani attorney.
Correct.
Just an FYI.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Just wanted
Next.
to add on this thing, like the child needs to be unmarried, more than 21, and the limit of the age is 29.
Yeah, no, Mariam, that has changed. So that's why I was telling Umar. So according to new immigration laws, the age of the child would freeze at when I-130 was applied. So reach out to an attorney, please.
All right, moving on. I've applied to program in which there is categorical and also primary care. I had one interview for both, but primary care is the last thing I want to do. So do I rank this program? I think the answer is simple. You rank categorical higher and primary care probably at the bottom. So we won't go for this. I also shared my personal take on the J1 H1 debate. There is a little video. You can listen to that if you want to go into much deeper analysis of this. Then there is another one. If there is a program that offers H1B and has in-house fellowship, what are the chances of matching there for fellowship? Do I still need to complete 2 years of hospitalist job to get a green card, or I can apply directly for fellowship? I already addressed that in my detailed video, but if any one of you wants to answer that, please go ahead.
Yes, if they have in-house fellowships and you end up matching into their fellowship, it's easier. You can get that fellowship done and you can apply for green card too. So that makes it really easy if they can offer you fellowships while you're on H1B. Yeah.
Okay. Next, we have during IM interview, several PDs stated, which it seems like the PDs here are stating as well, that there is no, I think the question, yeah, that I mean, we should not send letter of intent or rank them highly. Should I still send it despite the dislikes? The PDs, Naman bhai, Sadiq bhai, go ahead.
I will not send it because the program is giving you an explicit instruction, please don't send it. So if you still send it, I'm going to be thinking whether this person is not able to take simple directions.
Yes, agreed.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. If next question from Momina Makin, if a program ranks you number 1 and you rank them number 2, what are the chances of matching? It depends if you match at your number 1 or not. If you didn't, you just automatically match there because this was your number 2.
So you will not only, you will not only match there is only one condition: you will not match if they have only one residency spot. So it will work in your favor. I think we are too anxious about a lot of things.
Right. Then there is this question, and I think it's better answered by Farhan. He did an entire podcast for 2 hours yesterday. Kantash, I see your question if the time allows. Can we talk about expenses from match result until the start of residency, especially related to visa stuff, both H1 and J1? You can listen to Farhan's podcast. You can listen to my videos in playlist of Money Talks. That takes like, unless you want, any one of you wants to answer that, that takes at least half an hour to an hour of discussion if we want to talk about financial aspects of
but
H1
since
versus
the match
J1.
is already done and all the other expenses are paid, there's only 2 expenses left, right? Main expenses is your ticket and the other expenses is your visa. So if you are on a J1 visa, the program will sponsor the J1 visa. You don't have to pay anything. The only thing you have to pay is the DS 160 fees, which is nominal, like $160. That's it. If you're on a H1B visa, the program will still pay for the H1B visa, but they would require you, most of the programs would require you to pay for the payroll process, which is around $5,000 to $3,000, something like that. It's in that range sometimes. So basically, those are the only expenses that you have to think about after you're done with your match and everything.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Farhan shared his Twitter space talk, so you guys can listen to the financial aspect more over there. There is a question on YouTube that I'm going to US for an exchange fellowship on J1 for 3 months, sponsored by US Department of State. I will apply for upcoming match cycle. If I get matched, can I get back to US on J1 within 2 years? Yes, that doesn't apply. There is a difference between I have a video on this. There is a difference between J1 research and J1 clinical. These are 2 separate buckets. You can't mingle them. So J1 research has nothing to do with J1 clinical. Also for J1 research, it depends where the funding source is and how much year you work before the limitations apply. So the short answer is no, it doesn't impact unless anybody else wants to add something. No. Okay. Farhan shared his Twitter space. Sadiq bhai shared a link to USCIS. Go ahead, Sadiq bhai.
So that link is for regarding Child Status Protection Act. So that's what I was talking about, freezing the age when someone applies for I-130.
Yep. So I was 19 and that's how I got it, just an FYI. So it's the 21 is the cutoff. All right. It doesn't seem like we have any more questions, and We have pretty much answered all the questions. Do you want to give any concluding remarks, Naman Bhai and Sadiq Bhai?
I think I talked enough. So I would just say that, rank your programs based on how you wish them to rank, not on your perceived performance. There was, the last question was, I forgot that. But anyway, so just rank based on how you want them to rank, and it's just your wish list. So just rank them and good luck. There's a lot of anxiety going to be about the process. It's all going to be turned out okay.
Thank you, Sadiq Bhai. Last minute question, and I'll just address a categorical program in the middle of nowhere versus primary care in New York. Which one should be? It's a matter of personal preference, right, Naman Bhai?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Aisha Batul, you raised your hand. Can you just ask your question in 30 seconds and we're going to wrap it up?
Yes. Actually, I have just one question that I got interview from a program where I applied for both physician scientist program and categorical pediatrics. And I got an interview from the program. And before my interview, they sent me a performer in which they asked for, are you interested in physician scientist? And I said yes. But I'm still confused if I'm going to rank the program. Should I include both the codes? Like, I don't know if they interviewed me for the categorical or physician training program. So should I rank both their codes? Because the program has two separate NRMP codes for both the programs.
I think you should contact the PD and you can ask them whether they are considering you for both spots or just one spot.
Okay. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Naman Bhai, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think just towards the end, again, what Dr. Sadiq Naveed said, what others have said, make a list and find a program where you're going to be happier. Again, lots of factors. One thing you need to consider is a resiliency. We all are not similar, all are different. And you may, like we've talked about it, we should go through a rigorous program because that's the best training you can get. And I kind of share that with Umar. If you go through a tough program, then you're going to have an easier job. But if you are someone who doesn't have good resiliency, then you need to think about it, because then you're going to get burned out. So you have to, it's all individualized. You need to look at your factors. You need to see your family needs. People who have got some family needs, they are taking care of someone either at their home, somebody who is sick and they need their attention. They've got small kids. These are all the factors you need to go through and make your list. Not just I'm going to go to the best program. It's also what's going to be best for me and my family. So look at that and make your list. And then once you make your list, that has to be based on your personal preference, and hopefully it'll work out. There was a question about the SOAP webinar. Yes, we'll have one. That's going to be on March 5th. Again, I'll request all of you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and then also sign up to our Facebook, and we will be posting everything over there. And we have a robust schedule for you for the entire year. Everything that you would need for the match, hopefully we'll provide you all the guidance. So there'll be multiple webinars, there'll be multiple coaching session, and we'll also have some live seminars. We'll announce that in different cities. So just stay tuned, and good luck with everything. Good luck with the match. Omar, back to you for a last final comment.
Thank you, Naman Bhai. No comments, just one request, guys. Doing all this, taking out our time on a Sunday morning, each one of us is here, and setting this up, making sure it gets live telecasted on YouTube. We have a Zoom account, that can handle all these people. All this takes money. We're not only giving our time, but our money as well. The least you could do is support us. Go to our YouTube channel. If you're especially watching this video on the YouTube channel, give us a like, thumbs up, and subscribe to our Apna YouTube channel. We're trying to get the Apna YouTube channel monetized. That would give us some funds that we can leverage towards YPC and give you more events like this. Thank you, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us. Please like, share, and subscribe our channel. Thanks.